So off camera, I actually removed, remember I was swapping parts from other bikes, so I actually removed my 203, my 180 millimeter rotors, and my Shimano XTR brakes from the other bike, and I'm gonna now transfer them to this bike. You got to make sure you have the various adapters, and since this is coming off a fork of the same size with the same post mount configuration and the same mount configuration in the rear, and I'm going to just swap the whole system over. I'm just using parts so that I know that they'll work on this particular bike, and we'll start off by installing some rotors first, and then we'll run the brake lines and do a test fit. So we'll just lay this wheel right on top of the bucket. And rotors are rotational. It's obvious that it's very hard to get the Shimano rotors installed backwards, but they do have an indication on the rotor themselves, as you can see, etched into the disc itself is rotation with the arrow pointing that way. So the wheels are going to be spinning that way, and we can install the rotor the correct way. And I will just usually get these fingers started just a little bit. The thread locker first, and then I'll come back. We'll do a cross pattern here. And by the way, these Shimano Ice-Tech rotors, they're, you know, the centers here are actually plastic, so you don't want to over tighten these. And the torque specs are actually on the rotors too. So I'll go back and do a final tight on these. So it's kind of in 3 stages. So I'll do the first stage, past the thread locker, then I'll turn off my torque and I'll just tighten it with my hand. I'm not actually using the drill here. And that will get me to proper torque. And ensuring that that you don't cross thread from the get-go, because if you're using that power tool, it's sometimes difficult to gauge, and you may definitely be in crooked. So again, we'll go in a cross pattern, and we'll get past the thread locker. And I'll turn the torque up a little bit, get a final second stage tightening. Alright, there is our final rear rotor. Just double check. All tight. Alright, so 36 millimeter Fox forks actually come with a standard 180 millimeter rotor mount point. In order to go to 203 millimeter, which is what I'm going to, I need to install this adapter, and this is something I had on the old bike as well. This gets me up to a 203 millimeter rotor, so that's what we'll do now, and then we'll install a caliper on the front on top of it. So let's position the caliper, and I'm going to make sure we have this on so there's an up symbol on the mount. washers. Do the same for the other, the bottom. Careful not to contaminate the rotor. And we'll tighten it down a little bit here. We'll leave a little bit of slack in it, because we want to center the caliper over the brake rotor. Screw. Right now, as there's play in both the top and the bottom, give the wheel a spin, hit my brake lever, and where it stops, I'll give it a tighten, and that should center the caliper over, and now we have no scrubbing. So. And we'll just do a final tighten down. Our caliper. And we're good to go. Give her a little test. Alright. Alright, let's give it a little tightening. You may have noticed I also took the shock off. And I actually took the linkage off too to run the cable in between. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to be or not, but this is the way I run it on my, this is the way it was run on my other. Through, and I'm just going to hand tighten these down. So now I can put the rear wheel back on. We do the same procedure for the back as we did for the front. Spin the wheel and slow